Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to the double Gameweek 29 pod of the FPL Wire, powered by DreamSetGo. I'm your host, Zoph. My co-host, Lateriser, and I are joined by our friend, Big Man Bakar. And I do not have to ask how it's going today. Imam ul Haq, Azhar Ali, Big Man Bakar, all of Pakistan's superstars are hitting centuries this week.
Thanks, Zoph. I'm used to scoring on and off the field, so it doesn't really feel
Oh my
unusual.
god! Oh my god! He's got the smug face on.
But I'm
Gotta have to
absolutely
say-
elated with how things have went. I understand that the variance this week has been brutal to a lot of FPL managers. And honestly, though, they were like 50-50 decisions that could have gone either way. But thankfully, I ended up on the right side of variance and ended up on a huge score.
You don't have to be apologetic about it. You sound like you're almost apologizing for it.
I've had my moment in the sun. I don't want to go on banging about
I was just going to ask his number.
Longer.
I was going to ask the contact details for his PR manager right now because that is just such bullshit. That is such a...
Speaking of PR managers, have you heard about this? Bakar's new upcoming appearance on Dance Champions.
It's about time I dropped a new album, right?
But it's about time. I mean, I was genuinely, once you hit the century this week, I was expecting another video dropping on Twitter. I'm quite disappointed that it happened. But the next time that does happen this season, Bakar, you need to drop one.
I think if we hit a
Sure.
century in 29, that's going to be like, a century in each innings of a test match. So I think then a video has to drop.
Sure. I will keep this in mind.
What about you, LR? You had a great week yourself. Tell us about it.
Yeah, more than anything else, I'm just relieved that the wildcard is done because last week was so exhausting. I mean, the amount of highlights and articles I've read. You know me, I was all over the place. Like I was nervous about my wildcard until Saturday morning because I changed a lot of things on Friday evening when I heard that excellent podcast from Planet FPL from James, where initially I had planned to not use my free hit in Gameweek 30, but he really scared me about the situation in terms of post 31. There's going to be a lot of opportunities to make ground, and I was like, you know what, Pranal, you really need to save your free hit for the future. You don't need to blow your load fully in game week 30. I was going for the 5 chips in 5 weeks thing, but very happy with how the decisions panned out and excited to look forward.
Yep. I
About
think
you,
also
Utkarsh?
my week was okay. I got 56, which I thought and I felt that was really bad, but I dropped from 15K to 22K, which is not that bad. It felt a lot worse just because seeing the scores you guys are getting and the other people are getting, but it's not been that bad and we still have 4 games to go. So things could still get close. I was expecting my projected thing on the FPL optimizing was expected to lose about 10 points to the average. I've lost 19. So to that extent that is a variance factor of it. And I'm ready to accept that. And then I can walk you through my team, for example, the guys who I had in my team versus the wildcarders, they were like Dean, who got benched randomly out of COVID. Cancelo.
That was a potential 10-pointer that you lost out on, in my opinion. I'm sure if Dean was on the pitch, an assist and a clean sheet was something not...
Exactly.
Something
So it's not like a player that needed to be wildcarded out. Cancelo, again, conceded off a low XG chance. Livramento created 2 big chances for a player you had. Che Adams. Rafinha had a 1 XG involvement. Dennis was about to sub on most likely for Dean. He had a lot of good chances. So this is about 2+ XGI involvement, which came to nothing. So I recognize variance when it happens. These weren't bad picks per se.
No, not at all. I mean, we were chatting on Monday after the whole weekend pass, etc. as well. And I mean, I was looking at your team again, and I wouldn't have wildcarded given your position as well. I think you were in a good position. Given our different ways of playing the game, maybe I would have taken a hit or 2 more, but that's just a philosophical difference that you have. I thought you were really, really unlucky with quite a few of your players, Rafinha the most, because what happened is the 2 other popular captains, Reece James and Coutinho, they sort of did well. So it was Rafinha that was the one that had performed, but his numbers were really good. I mean, 9 out of 10 times that chance that Schmeichel saved, that goes in. I do think there is one thing to say here in terms of, I did a tweet a few weeks ago in terms of not gray zoning with your strategy. And you really need to play what's in front, because before Gameweek 27 free hit happened, I got in Luis Diaz, and that was sort of me moving towards a wild card because it was committing to a strategy. I got in a risky player at that point because I was like, you can't really do half measures in this position, given the number of big opportunities that are already existing in the FPL ecosystem and that are going to exist post 33, 34 onwards as well, which we're going to discuss first up on the pod. So I think whatever strategy you're going through, I think you need to commit to. That sort of patience play where we are trickling along. I think that is something we can't move ahead. You need to figure whether you're attacking 33, 34, and 36 and go hard on that and try to stay the course like you are doing right now. But you need to commit to one strategy at the moment. That's
You make a good point here. I watched FML FPL this morning. They say something, you need to pick your style. Either you go aggressive or you go dullard, because if you try to be both, then you actually miss out on the possible gains you might get from sticking with either strategy. A good example is James this week. I personally, for me, not even at one point out of the 1,000 thoughts I had at any point considered captaining James, because for me, it's an X minutes play.
Correct.
So certain people
Speaking of that, news is just coming in that he's had some muscular issue, and Tuchel just said that he hasn't been able to train today. There's a possibility that he could miss out tomorrow as well.
And you remember the conversation we had also, Bakar, on 2 days ago? What was that about?
Yeah, you were absolutely determined. You were absolutely set that convinced that he's going to miss the Norwich fixture because you thought that Chelsea could do easily even without him in the Norwich fixture, but Newcastle are in form, so they need him for that fixture.
Right. So that's what I said. So ultimately, you had to be prepared to eventually go with that one game week thing, and that's paid off. And there was another thing I noticed at the weekend that was quite interesting, and maybe it's a learning to take. Planet FPL pointed to this out. Key personnel missing. We talk about 11 players make a football team, but we saw the impact one Salisu missing had. We saw the impact Ben Mee had with when Tarkowski went out to left centre back. Completely catastrophic. We've seen the impact Adam Webster has when Brighton's missing. We've seen the impact Van Dijk has when he goes missing. So this is a learning I really took from this weekend. When we see such opportunities, even if they're short term, I think we should attack.
Okay, I mean, it was a part of the thinking in terms of captaining Coutinho as well. I mean, we
Right, you told
were
me
in
that.
that group chat in Baker, etc. Salisu is like a big component, so that's all. What I do want to add on.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
I just have to take a
what
call.
Okay. What I have to add on with regards to the stylistic thing that you do is just that if you're trying to play in an aggressive, he's not put the thing on mute. Mute, Zoph, mute. Oh. Okay, fine.
This reminds me of something else.
This is just great content that we're doing. Let him just get done because it's difficult to, guys. Zoph has been playing Gran Turismo all week and he's ordered a little fancy steering wheel, which he's been waiting for today. He's been excited to get onto that later in the week as well. So he's not going to compromise there, knowing what he's been up to.
I'm back.
Week.
The wheel is here.
Yeah. You want to end the pod right now, Zoph, and just get to it?
Possibly.
All right. Let's move to the sponsor plugs and we'll move further with the chat.
Yep. DreamSetGo is India's first sports travel and experiences platform, offering a range of
Is the stream
premium...
on mute, Zoph? Anymore?
Nope.
Okay.
DreamSetGo is India's first sports travel and experiences platform, offering a range of premium, end-to-end authentic experiences across football, cricket, tennis, F1, rugby, and golf, among others. From matchday hospitality to VIP stadium tours, from private meet and greets with athletes and legends to exclusive access to their training sessions, DreamSetGo curates the most fulfilling sports travel packages for fans like you.
All the stats that you see on our podcast are from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. Like we're mentioning, they're upgrading stats and their members area week on week. It's just a great place to spend some time if you're FPLing heavy. And if you aren't already a member, just click on the link in the description below to become a member.
Also, please like the stream and subscribe to our channel if you like our content. And please support us on Patreon. Our Patreon is patreon.com/the FPL Wire. So any bit of support would be appreciated.
Right. And we had one new Patreon sign up, Mr. Hayes. Thank you for your support. Let's move on. Game week 29. So there's no point really, I thought, looking back at last week. There's still games to play and stuff. Let's look forward now. Let's talk about what's to come. Where should we start? Start with Liverpool?
You want to look forward, or I think before that you want to talk macro in terms of the opportunities
That's
forward?
A good point. I completely forgot about that. I'm just thinking about that wheel now. Right. So this is a chart that James has made over on Planet FPL. This is what he thinks are the likelihood of how the rest of the season is going to pan out. This is pretty much assuming that the favorites progress in game week 30, that round of the FA Cup. Might not be the case. The fixtures may not go exactly where it says over here, because a lot of things involve the TV companies, etc., etc. But initially, what it looks like, there's likely supposed to be, I think, a smaller double game week we're expecting in 32 for Everton and Burnley, right? Then 33. Go ahead.
At this point, I just want to quote James saying that this is 100% not going to be the picture because there are just too many moving parts and too many. It's dependent on a lot of results, etc. as well. So it's not at all what the future is going to look like, but at least you get an idea in terms of what the double game weeks are going to look like in the future.
Absolutely. So we're looking at obviously a bigger double in 33, along with a likely blank for Leeds and Wolves. Specifically, again, just assumptions, but on the face of it, just looking at the fixtures that are over here, I had an earlier look this week. No team I could really identify that has like two doubles really worth attacking besides Newcastle, who have Leicester and Palace, because all other teams, they either have like United have Norwich, they have Liverpool away with that. Then you have like Brighton has Spurs away, City away, Arsenal have Southampton away, Chelsea away. My initial thought looking at this is I'm not going to free hit this week. I'd rather dead end my team into this week, wildcard in 34. The doubles in 36 and 37 look much more interesting, and depending on which teams have doubles or not, you could possibly attack one set of doubles with the free hit and go for another set with the bench boost. That sort of strategy initially looks appealing to me, but of course we need to see the fixtures, which become clearer after game week 30.
Yep. I mean, I was looking at this chart specifically once the wildcard is done, and I saw that there is enough opportunity in 33, 36, or 37 to use one free hit chip. I think it might be difficult to get by. That's why I'm wanting to save the free hit chip in 30. And I think there's an opportunity that presents itself even right now, just because of how the fixtures dovetail for Arsenal after 30 as well. So in 30, they have Villa. In 31 and 32, they have Palace and Brighton, which you don't mind when if you're owning Arsenal players. Similarly with Spurs, in 30 they have West Ham at home, and 31 and 32 they have Newcastle and Villa. So these are good fixtures for teams that are primarily going to be on every and same for Liverpool. They blank in 30, but in 31 they have Watford at home, which is a prime fixture. So three teams that are primary double game week assets in 29. I think you can get them in even for hits right now because they're giving you fixtures in 30. I think they're giving you a strong list of fixtures in 31 and 32. I think there is a play depending on how the fixtures fall to go for the free hit in 33 because United might have a good looking double game week, etc. We don't know what the fixture is going to look like, but there might be some assets that we might not own. There's an opportunity to double in 33, and then I think 34 in your positions off. I think I would mark down that game week 34 spot as the wild card because we'll have a clearer picture of how the doubles are looking in 36 and 37. And the one thing that really stands out to me is Manchester City's fixtures, who not many of us own right now. 34 to 36, they read Watford at home, Leeds away, and Newcastle at home. That's just a great run of fixtures. I know at that point you're going to be tripling up on Manchester City, and they're expecting some doubles at later in the point also. So this is primarily what you need to be looking at a little later.
Yeah, 36 double is likely for City, a favorable double as well. But if I was in Zoph's position, I would. I think I would make a team for 30. His team is actually pretty fine for game week 30. He can just focus on Arsenal and Spurs, and Arsenal and Spurs both have good fixtures in 31 and 32. Exactly. So I don't see any reason to even wildcard in 31 or 32 in Zoph's case. So Zoph can. Zoph can leave it till 33 or 34 and wildcard then.
Yes. I like the idea of dead ending into 33, wildcard in 34, then use a free hit in one of these 36, 37s.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes sense. I don't think the upside is there if you wildcard right now.
Zoph, I think there are a few teams that double in 36 and 37 as well. So be open to that 33.
I'm totally open. This is just a very vague thing because the fixtures will decide it completely. Exactly. And that was what we were waiting for, clarity, which we'll get after game week 30.
Just wanted to ask you guys, so if somebody is not big on Arsenal or Spurs players or Liverpool players maybe at the moment, would you wildcard in 29?
It's interesting. What teams would you focus on if you're wildcarding on 29? It obviously has to focus on the doublers in 29 to an extent, right?
And Chelsea. I think it would be the advice that you gave me before I was building my wildcard as stuck in my head throughout all of last week, and it's what I did, what we spoke about last week. But I think in terms of team that you're targeting, Arsenal, Liverpool, Spurs, and Chelsea. This was the base if you're wildcarding last week. This is going to be the base if you're wildcarding this weekend.
Precisely.
And I think if you're short of players from these teams, I don't think there's a problem wildcarding this week either.
That's interesting because I want to read those Reece James comments maybe. Bakar, did he mention that he's possibly a doubt for the weekend as well?
No, he just said that he's out for Norwich.
Okay. It'll be interesting because again, it becomes an opportunity because you'd want James in long term. You might not want him in 29. Things like that you possibly have to consider now.
Exactly.
Essentially, he's essentially missing 2 game weeks now. So, I mean, I can see some logic for selling. If you're on a bench boost like Pernil is, then getting rid of him obviously makes more sense. But those who can afford to keep him, I think
there's no value either.
That's the play.
Not bad.
Exactly.
Tied up.
I mean, I have both Rudiger and James. So even if James is ruled out for the weekend, I still think I'd sell Rudiger because I'd expect James to be fine by game week 31, and that's when I really need him after this week.
One other question I want to pose to you guys, because it's something I put out an article, which was a Q&A article, and everybody's been asking primarily this question. How many people, what do you need in 30 to not free hit in 30?
I don't think there's a specific answer to this because it's actually like it depends more on the quality of the players or the quantity of the players you're getting. For example, you can get to like 8 to 9 starters as long as you have an Arsenal attacker, 2 Spurs attackers in the squad, Doherty, maybe 1 Leicester attacker at best, maybe 1 Villa guy. I think that forms the core of the team. Rafinha, most of the managers have. He had a EO of 93%. So I'm assuming a lot of managers already own these people. So I would not wreck my team to get to 11 starters for sure. I think having 9 8, 9 is perfectly fine, even if it is at the cost of a hit or so. I think that's fine because all of these players are good players to own, especially the Arsenal, Leicester, and the Spurs guys for 31 and 32 anyway. So they're worth hits in my opinion. Wolves are the only team Wolves and Villa are the only teams I would actually want to actively get rid of after game week 30.
Yeah, I think, and if you're wildcarded already, and if you're hitting in Arsenal or Spurs players, I just like that irrespective because the race for fourth is legit. I think both these teams are going to be going for it, and I think it's going to be going on until 37, 38 as well. So the X speech factor is just not going to be a factor.
Right. I agree with what you. Let's just dial back a bit now, Bakar. We were having another conversation about triple captain. This is something that a lot of guys again who wildcarded in 26 are looking to play. Why don't you share what our discussion was?
Yeah, so I have the triple captaincy chip left. We had this conversation last morning, and I don't have any other chips remaining. So Zoph was of the opinion that I should potentially save it for later as a sort of a wild card up my sleeve. But I'm potentially looking to triple captain Salah. So I'd be interested for you to make your arguments, and then I can come back to mine. I have like eight reasons prepared for why to triple captain Salah this week.
I already gave you my reason.
Interesting debate.
I already gave you my reason. Why don't you share that?
Your reason was that his EO this week is going to be 200% more or less, and there wasn't much to gain if you triple captain him this week. Well, potentially you can triple captain someone later with a lower EO and gain much more.
Do you agree with that, Pranay?
I do, but I wouldn't overthink it at cap Salah. I just think he's the best player in the game. A lot of people, and this is me adjusting to how I was as an FPL manager last season, where you've told me many times, don't do things just for the sake of doing things, etc. as well. I don't think Kane flies in the same boat as a Mo Salah does. And I don't think anybody in the league flies in the same boat as Mo Salah does. And
KDB.
Don't worry too.
That's who I suggested to maybe KDB in like 36 or 37 is someone you can look at.
He's not the same FPL asset, in my opinion. He's just not the same FPL asset. It's a high risk move. I understand in terms of EO play and wanting to EO in a different thing, but a comparison here is to the best FPL player in the game that we've seen in the last 6 years by a distance, having a double game week. And I don't even care about the Arsenal fixture, which is a tough fixture on paper, because Salah likes to show up on the big stage. And I think after hitting the post against Inter last night twice, where he even mentioned that, I hit the post twice, I probably score a hat-trick in the next game. It's just knowing Salah and the greed that he has, he will want to correct. And it's just Salah. It's the best attack in the league and the best FPL player in the league. I wouldn't overthink it.
Last season has made you dull, man.
Yeah. Genuinely, it is a correction. It is.
I mean, for someone who has a free hit or a bench boost left and they're planning to use that in 36, I think in that case, it makes this a no-brainer. But I mean, for someone like me who's chipless from this point onwards, I have like 8 points prepared. I'll be very brief and go through them very quickly. Firstly, he's Salah, best asset in the game. Secondly, he's fit, likely to play both games. Thirdly, on penalties. Fourthly, you may not get the chance to triple captain Salah later on in the season, dependent on if Liverpool go out of the FA Cup. We know that the FA Cup can throw up strange results. In that case, Liverpool won't have a double. You never know whether Salah could be injured at any point in the season. And the third point is that he could be at risk of rotation if for example you assume that City beat Liverpool in game week 32 and the league is done by then maybe that game isn't as relevant and Klopp is in a mood to rest him for the Champions League. Who knows? The fifth point is that even if Liverpool do have a double later on in the season, it's likely to be Spurs and Villa, which isn't as much of an upgrade on the double this week. So I don't really see too much between those two fixtures. The sixth point I have is that City have Newcastle and Brighton in game week 36. So now that's an appealing set of fixture. But then again, Pep, we already know Pep roulette is crazy, and it's very hard to predict who is going to haul out of the City players with their random goal involvements. The seventh is that James has a good double coming up, but he could be rotated as well because at that point of the season I don't expect that Chelsea would have much to play for either. And the 8th point is what Pranil mentioned, that Salah's already built up quite a lot of XG and he's not been scoring. So I mean those comments and quotes from him tell me that he's not short of confidence. So I think I'm leaning towards triple captaining him.
Yeah, from a very game state and EO sort of point of view, the only way I'd not triple captain Salah is if Bakar was sitting outside the top 100k. But the fact is, he's sitting in the top 3K and he just needs to captain the best player, having a double game week, and that's about it. Not overcomplicating it. Cool.
Let's hope for the best.
All right. Let's move forward.
Right, become game week 29.
Yeah.
Where should we start? Liverpool? Bakar, you had some stats
Okay.
about...
Current surge in volume. Something that you've shifted, maybe?
No, it's probably just on the chat we use on OBS Ninja. Not on OBS.
All right,
as
cool.
such. Go ahead. So, let's talk about Liverpool first, or should we jump to Spurs first?
Let's do Liverpool. I mean, the three teams we want to really focus on this pod. Let's talk about Liverpool first. Bakar, why don't you take us off?
I don't think there's much to talk about Liverpool other than the exception of Robertson. I mean, I'm not looking at any of their attacking assets. Diaz, Jota, they don't excite me because Klopp did talk up rotation very recently. So I'm not really sure whether any one of them is going to start 2 games in the first place. Robertson is someone who is interesting as an option, and I think I'm probably going to buy him this week myself. So from game week 13 onwards, this was basically the time since he picked up form. He's second for chances created, second for XGI among defenders, and first for big chances created and penalty area touches. Now, what I like about Robertson is that I was studying the baseline BPS per minute ratio, and Robertson is clearly far and away the best out of the Liverpool defenders. So even if he gets no attacking involvement, he's likely to get the highest amount of bonus points in any given fixture, assuming that Liverpool keep a clean sheet. This is because he's also on corners and he's creating chances, which allows him to do well for bonus. Another thing that I like about him is the fact that he allows a very easy move to Cancelo later, because Zoph has a wildcard, for example. He can easily bring in Cancelo later, even if he chooses to sell him. Yeah, but assuming that you choose to sell him, you can bring him later. But for those who don't, he's exactly at that price point where actually Robertson is now more expensive than Cancelo. So I think it makes a lot of sense to go with him. And in game week 31, he has Watford at home, which I think is as good as a double game week for someone. So I really like that option. I'm not exactly confident about Liverpool's chances of keeping 2 clean sheets in this game week. I definitely expect Arsenal to score. Brighton is 50-50. I'm not sure whether Liverpool keep a clean sheet there, but just the fact that Robertson has so much attacking threat makes me think that he is worth the transfer in this week.
Any theory, by the way, on why that happens? I mean, I was watching the highlights from the Liverpool game against West Ham, and West Ham could have had 1, if not 2 goals. And this is something that happened a lot last season as well. First of all, Alisson is a world-class keeper, but why do you think so many teams keep consistently missing big chances against Liverpool? Do you guys have a theory there? I
To a
don't
certain
have
extent, I do. I think at
Alisson's
Anfield,
XG prevented is actually great
Yes.
for like 2-3 seasons. He's been right up there.
You were saying, Zoph? Sorry.
Yeah, so there are multiple things. I think, especially at Anfield, the crowd, the whole pressure environment, I think that plays a part in that. Another thing I noticed is Alisson's positioning. He's very aggressive. When he comes, he normally charges the space in front of out. He makes himself big. He's very good with his positioning, and that is something I think is very natural.
Yeah, I think the opposition forwards that maybe play against him are aware of that, and that's why they're going to try to scuff their shot or play it quicker or something like that.
Yeah,
that's
something
the theory.
And it's Beard's rule.
Yeah. But Bakar summed up Liverpool very nicely, and where Zoph and I and Bakar all three have the opinion that Trent and Mo are not compromisable. Captaining Mo is. Are you guys on considering Kane captaincy at all this week?
No, not at
We'll
all.
have a conversation about that later.
He has 2 difficult fixtures. He has one easy the Brighton game. It could be tough.
Brighton are defensively not in a good place at the moment.
Bakar saw it.
Oh,
I genuinely think that Spurs have a better chance of falling against United. That might suit them more than the Brighton game. But yeah, I mean, Spurs, I've noticed under Conte are actually much better than home, especially.
Wait. Let's not dovetail into Spurs right now, because I do want to talk about Liverpool, and I do want to address a couple of things here. I agree with you. I think that if you're going for a third pick, Robertson is the best pick there is, and there is a dilemma I have where I need to go for Robertson. But after watching yesterday's events and after seeing Jota's substandard performance, and the way Luis Diaz has been playing in the last 6 and 7 games, my gut is I think he's first choice right now. Yes, Klopp is going to rotate, etc. as well, but he's been absolutely sensational. It amazes me how well he's put himself into this Liverpool lineup and look so good so quick. I think Liverpool's best front three on current form is Diaz, Mane, Salah. So if you're feeling a punt, if it getting to Robbo as a third Liverpool asset is too far a stretch, I have no qualms against Luis Diaz as a one game week punt in game week 29. I think he's going to start Brighton. And I think what's happening is after the Arsenal game, there are no games for Liverpool for a while, right? We move into the international break. So and Arsenal are a tough opposition. And Jota played 87 minutes in the Champions League game. So I'm very likely expecting Diaz to play this game against Brighton, which is the first game in the dull game week. And I think he's going to pick his best front three against Arsenal. And I think performance base, if Diaz shines in that Brighton game, I think the likelihood of him starting that Arsenal game, which is 4 days later, there's a big enough gap also, is quite high. So if you're feeling a 1 week punt, expecting around 120 minutes for Luis Diaz, I see there's upside. I have nothing against it.
Yep, at least
I just
one
think
start.
he's really good.
At least one start, I think, is virtually guaranteed. The Arsenal game, it seems like a Firmino game to me, but we don't know what his fitness is like right now.
Exactly. I don't think he has the rhythm to throw Firmino into a big game like Arsenal when there is so much at stake in the title race. Klopp can't afford to drop a single point at the moment. That's why I quite like how things have played out. I was waiting for the Champions League lineup to give my opinion here, and I think Luis Diaz is a fabulous 1 week punt. If you're feeling it, because what I also like about it is it dovetails into Leicester City midfielder that you want to buy in game week 30 as well, right? So I quite like that progression of transfers. If you can't go to Robbo is the best third pick from the Liverpool team if you're looking for a midterm asset, but if you're looking for a 1 week fling, Diaz is fun.
Anything more on Liverpool, guys? Move on to Spurs.
Bakar? All right.
Let's do some Spurs. Bakar, you had sent us some stats over here. Why don't you walk us through them?
Yeah, so firstly, I just like to say that from the numbers that I've studied on Spurs, Kane is looking like the standout captain for game week 30. Now, a lot of managers are in the position where they don't own Son or Kane, so for them it's very very obvious. I think the move and the play is to bring Kane in and captain him for 30 because he's looking by far a better captain. However, a lot of managers are stuck in that kind of tricky situation where they have Son and they will have to sell him because they also own Salah, so they don't have any other route to Kane but to sell Son. I personally think that's a move that is worth it. Son to Kulusevski and Jimenez to Kane is a move that I really, really like. A lot of managers find themselves in this position where they can afford these moves. I think this is a move that makes a lot of sense. Over the past 5 matches, Son and Kulusevski are more or less neck to neck in terms of big chance involvement. Son has 9, Kulusevski has 7, but you've also got to factor in the 5 million price difference between them. And then there's the fact that even in these 5 games, Kulusevski is outscoring Son for when it comes to penalty area touches, shots, and shots inside the box. And not only that, Son has been subbed thrice in his previous 4 fixtures, while Kulusevski has played like 90 in 3 of those fixtures. Kulusevski is getting more game time. He's cheaper. The quality of the chance he gets is slightly lesser than that of Son's. But I think that Son to Kulusevski is not actually that big of a downgrade, and it allows for a lot of cash for you to invest elsewhere, which is why I think that getting in Kane this week should be a priority. I understand that Son could do well this week, and those hits might not pay off straight away. But by the time game week 30 ends, I'm very confident that the captaincy factor will swing it in Kane's favor.
I also did a bit of analysis on Kulusevski, and it was interesting that he's actually getting more touches and he's actually making more passes than Son. So he's absolutely fundamental to the way Spurs play now. And I know Pranil has a song that's going on his head right now. Would you like to sing it for us, Pranil? Maybe a short one?
Gimme. It's been in my head all week. Every day I wake up thinking about that song. I blame Baker because he sent us that sensational video. But a lot of people have asked me, do you think Kulusevski is nailed? What do you think about the threat from Moura? And those guys, whoever's asking that question hasn't seen Spurs play for the last 3 or 4 weeks. That's my basic conclusion because it's miles apart. The quality that Kulusevski has as a player and the quality that Moura has as a player, it's not even close. It's not even close. He's a sensational player. His intelligence, his work rate. When I'm watching Spurs are just they finally have a third person in their attack, in their front three. They haven't had it with Moura. Moura's a road runner. He's not the same caliber of player Kulusevski is. I think he's, outside of Saka, probably the best value pick in that price bracket.
Agreed.
Great pick.
Agree.
Yeah.
So what about these numbers here, Bakar? And just looking at his expected goal involvement is around 1.9. He's got significantly more involved. He's got, I think, 5 goal involvements, I think, in total, 2 goals, 3 assists. What do you think about
Yeah,
these
he has
numbers?
5 in his previous 4 games.
Numbers sustainable?
I kind of think that in isolation, Son is still the better asset, but because of that 5 million difference, I think that Kulusevski is the better pick, and because I want you to actually move on to the Kane slide, the one in which he's been compared. Yeah, this one.
Okay, I'm coming.
Yeah.
Got it. Go ahead.
Yeah, this one. So you can see here that this is basically the time from when Conte took over. Kane is by far and away, he's even above Salah for non-pen XGI. And he's above Son by a distance. Like when you look at Spurs' numbers since Conte took over, Kane is top for big chances created and for big chances as well. And in the league, he's top for non-pen XGI. So he's just performing at another level. And I mean, you look at it, even you forget stats, you look at his finishes, the ones he scored in the previous 2 games on his weaker foot, on the volley, he's full of confidence, and he just looks like scoring every single time.
Would you make the switch though? If you're a Son owner,
yes,
what do you do if you're a Son owner?
That's what you just said.
I would sell for Kane. I would fund Kane. Son to Kulusevski, Jimenez to Kane is a transfer I really like. Yeah. And Zoph on Doherty as well now. Should we move on to Doherty?
Yes, please. Let's do it.
Yeah, this one, the previous one, the defenders one, this one, yeah.
Yes.
You can see in this list that Reguilon is, now this is again from the time that Conte has taken over. Reguilon is 2nd, Doherty is 5th. Now, you have to factor in the fact that Reguilon has played more than 60 minutes, just 7 in just 7 games, while Doherty has played more than 60 minutes in just 4 of these games. Yet he's 5th in the list, which just tells you what kind of a beast he is. I mean, in the previous 2 matches, he has 4 big chance involvements, and Conte's wingbacks are on another level. Personally, when it comes to attacking returns, I am not bullish about their clean sheet prospects at all. In fact, I would like to quote a comparison which I made very recently. So in Conte's first 8 matches, Spurs were conceding on average 0.7 xG per game. So their numbers were really good, defensive numbers. In their previous 8 fixtures, that xG conceded is 1.6. So it's doubled, more than doubled, in fact. And big chances conceded have risen from 0.3 per game to 2 per game. So the defensive numbers have actually fallen off a cliff in recent times. This is referring to the previous 8 matches. But with Doherty and Reguilon, the way I look at it is that they're midfielders. So if they can get bonus, the clean sheet points, they're like a bonus to me. I'm not expecting too many clean sheets. I think they're in the next 4 games. I expect perhaps one clean sheet or 2 at best. But because they offer such good value at a very cheap price, I think they're excellent players to buy.
Elad, your thoughts?
I think Doherty's a good pick. But you do need to manage your expectations when it comes to Spurs players at the moment, because everybody's really, really high on them. And let's not forget that the last 2 teams that they played were a Bielsa managed Leeds United and Everton, who have really, really poor defenders. So yeah, you won't expect the 5-0 goal fest that you saw. I thought Spurs played good, but maybe for 30 or 35 minutes. And Lampard just basically spread his legs and opened up and say, you know what, get through, because they were really, really poor and really, really open. So get Spurs players as long as you're managing your expectations. That's about it.
Spot on.
Yeah.
So, but in general, what do you guys think in terms of so many defenders? Like, let's say, is it worth moving for, let's say, if you have a Wolves defender, let's say you have a Saiss or a Kilman, somebody like that. Do you think it's worth moving him on to Doherty for a hit this week?
Yes.
I think so too, Bakar.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Bakar can't hear us.
Bakar agrees as well.
Yeah, I missed what you were saying, Zoph.
I said,
do you think it's worth moving?
Go on,
Zoph.
We're all over the place today.
I can hear both.
Yes. So basically, we're asking for Wolves defender. We should move him on for a Spurs defender this week for a hit if we have to.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Wolves they're an absolute train wreck. 1 clean sheet in their previous 8 fixtures. I'm in absolute gratitude to Nelson Semedo for getting injured and getting me that lovely 8-pointer for sitting on his bum for 2.5 minutes that day, and then basically dragging me out of the mess that's the Wolves defense. So I have no problem selling the Wolves defense. In fact, even their fixture in game week 30, I think Leeds will score in that fixture. I watched Leeds very closely this week against Leicester, and they were very, very impressive under the new manager. I do think that Leeds will score in that fixture. So I don't think selling Kilman or size should be that bit of a problem, especially when the likes of Doherty have such massive upside with goal threat.
What did you make of Large calling out whoever and just calling out the generation and the fact that they don't train and they're not serious?
I think you should
I
keep
mean, he
that shit
picked him, so
in-house.
he's
Yeah,
responsible.
exactly. My point is, if you think a player is not good enough to pick, don't pick him. Don't pick him and then cop out. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Initially,
same.
I was like done because what happened at United has really, really sort of stuck in my head in terms of these young players getting too much too early and all of that. But then I just realized he's bloody 20, and I agree with you. My opinion, once I thought about it, really was that we should have just kept that. When he's reached a surface level where he has to call something like that out, I think there are problems at the clubs, and I think you get rid of your Wolves assets as soon as possible.
Alarming signals. But let's just touch upon Wolves' assets also now. Obviously, we'll find the answer out tomorrow. I still think they're okay to. I still don't think Jimenez is a hard sell because again, Everton, I know they're better at home. I think they could get something there. Leeds could. I still don't think he's a hard sell per se. What do you guys think?
Fair enough. If you have other problems, etc., to solve, and the thing is, if you want to attack the Spurs position or Arsenal position, which have a strong double in 29, there's nobody else except Lacazette that you're looking to shift Jimenez to anyway. So that's the only player you'll probably want to shift to at this point. Outside of that, maybe I don't mind looking at a Villa forward as well. I thought Watkins was really good over the weekend. I thought Ings was really good over the weekend. So if you can move to these three players, maybe I think it's a good bet. Otherwise, there's just a lack of options up front.
Correct. Yeah.
I do think he's going to start against Watford though, because they just looked so toothless against Palace, and in fact in the previous 3 games he scored this once. I do expect Jimenez to come straight back in against Watford, and if he puts in a decent performance, he's going to start. As far as keeping or selling him is concerned, I think if you're selling for someone like a Kane, then that's fine. But I think he's going to play the next couple of fixtures, so I don't really see the appeal in selling him for Tony or even a Villa forward.
Correct. Let's just have a quick look at this fixture this week. I think they're obviously not as favorable in general as the games we had last week, right? I think Arsenal, both fixtures, I find it difficult to see a clean sheet in either. Liverpool, probably a good bet for clean sheet. Spurs, Brighton have been so poor at home. I think maybe that fixture is an easier fixture than it appears than what we thought earlier in the season. We always thought Brighton were always a mid-table good team, but they've fallen apart a bit.
Yeah, but I don't think it will take long for them to sort themselves out. I just rate Graham Potter, the manager, and I think he'll make enough changes. I don't think they will continue in a downward trend just because I rate the guy managing that team.
Right. I think so. We can close on Spurs, discuss a bit of Arsenal.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
Bakar,
I think.
You want to start?
Yep, Bakar, go ahead.
Go on, Zoph.
No, I just wanted to discuss. I think there's not really much discussing Saka, right? Saka is as close to no-brainer as it gets. He needs to be in your team. Full stop, just because of the great fixture.
A lot of people were asking me whether they should be bringing in Saka, Martinelli, or Kulusevski this week. This is a very popular question in the community. I think Saka is the one. I prefer him to Martinelli because he's more nailed for minutes. Martinelli tends to get subbed earlier, around the 70 minutes mark, while Saka is nailed for 90. So that's something which is in Saka's favor. Another thing that I like about Saka this week is that, Zoph, that I like doing matchups. So Leicester a third for chances conceded down that flank this season. So Saka I expect to do well in the Leicester game in particular. I would even buy him over Kulusevski at this point in time because Arsenal have the chance of potentially doubling in 33 as well. So that one extra fixture would swing my decision towards bringing Saka over Kulusevski.
It was a weird game though, right? Against Watford. I thought Watford did really well.
It was.
Like, I think 1.5 XG versus 0.7 or 0.8 for Arsenal. If I'm not
I think they had 3 shots on target and they scored with all 3. It was the exact opposite of what happened at Old Trafford.
Yeah. Exactly. Watching that game made me really, really uncomfortable about owning Ben White. I was like, what has happened? Because Partey and Xhaka didn't have good games. Normally, they shield that defense really, really well, and they didn't have good games. So I think if you're buying an Arsenal player, buy Saka. I don't mind Martinelli. as a matchup. And Bakar, you mentioned that matchups advice. What Arsenal are doing right now, everything that they're creating is going through that right hand side, because Odegaard and Saka are on that right hand side. They have incredible chemistry and understanding with each other. There's a touch of one twos. I think Odegaard and Lacazette are the reasons why Saka is such a great player. Because I've noticed that every time Saka is giving the ball to them, Odegaard or Laka are looking to play one twos with them. Saka is always making the run forward, and there's just like at least 6 or 7 instances where he's played a 1-2 with either Lacazette or Odegaard and he's through one goal. And I think if I was to pick between Kulusevski and Saka, I'm with you. I think Saka's above Kulusevski
Definitely.
in the pecking order for me. That said, I do think I like, again, if you're looking for a 1 week fling in Gameweek 29, I like the matchups when it comes to owning a Martinelli. Because the first game that Arsenal have
Leicester
is Leicester, and the second game they have Liverpool, and Liverpool like to keep a really, really high line. And I think Martinelli plays that Liverpool game 100% because Arteta will want to use that
pace behind.
Pace behind, because they play a very, very high line, and he's the only one who can really do that. I don't see ASR starting that game against Liverpool, especially on that left hand side. So I think he starts that game. I think there's a good chance he starts the Brighton game as well. And if you're looking for a 1 week punt, I don't Martinelli because I just like the matchups of the teams that he's playing against. I think Arteta will use his pace against these two teams. But if you're looking for long-term picks, I think Ramsdale. You don't mind Ramsdale because even though Arsenal don't look that good defensively, they might sort it out in a big game. Arteta will make small tweaks in his game plan as well. And there's always a chance of fluking a double-digit haul from a keeper when he faces tough opposition if they manage to keep a clean in one of the two games. So I quite like Ramsdale as an option.
Yeah, so a lot of managers will have, for example, James in their starting lineup. Assuming that he's fit for Newcastle, would you play him over Arsenal doubler? I think Arsenal will concede in both games, right?
James over
Leicester, do you
anybody.
guys fancy them to score?
James over anybody.
Yeah, I'm not very confident owning as a white player. I'm looking to sell him this week. I have a dilemma which I'll talk about when we're discussing my team. But
yeah, Arsenal have been very good at home this season, but in recent times, even Arteta mentioned in the post-match press conference that the defense is an area of concern. So I do think Leicester will score away from home.
And also, I feel like Tierney is the biggest trap there is. I don't think he's got any attacking threat. Whenever I'm watching Arsenal, there's no play coming from his side as well. So you might be tempted to hold on like a White over a Tierney at the moment, thinking, oh, he's attacking. I don't see that attacking threat that Tierney's had in a while. So not very confident owning Tierney either.
Tierney to Doherty?
Yep.
I like.
Yeah.
I think there are much more chances of a clean sheet for Spurs fixtures also. You look at
Doherty is an attacker. Tierney isn't. But anybody that buys Doherty, and I got him on the wildcard, anybody that buys Doherty knows that the moment he drops a shit show and the opposition that he's facing in the next two games in a double game week isn't Leeds United or Everton, right? The moment he drops a shit show, they're
Man United though.
You're worried.
Look what Bakar said.
Bakar's not a United fan. And I do want to say, though, that whenever we've had a bad result, we have a tendency of bouncing back the next game as well, because the players that are playing for United will want to correct what had happened. So I don't think it'll be an easy game for Spurs. I don't think we are winning, but I don't think it'll be an easy game for Spurs.
No, on a serious note, though, I don't think he's going to get dropped after, even if he puts in a poor performance, I don't think he's going to get dropped because Emerson has been absolutely disastrous this season.
So bad.
So Conte, in fact, I was watching the post-match press conference of Conte, and he wasn't even asked about Doherty, but he actually named him himself and said that he's been one of the players who's been the most improved in recent times. So I think one bad performance won't change that, and I do think that he's going to give him at least the next 3 to 4 fixtures to cement his place in the team.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a fun story, and I think it'll be a good time to just narrate that. So I was tinkering late into Friday night last weekend before the wildcard, and I spoke to 3 people who quite strongly influenced the decision making. I was talking to Alon from FPL, and I was like, "What do you think? This is my wildcard draft." And he was like, "Why the hell is Holgate in there? I mean, they have a double and all of that. So he's not a good player. Just get White, even though you don't like him for the double. If you're looking to bench boost in 29." He's going to be a decent asset at 4.5 for your team henceforth. And I was looking at my team and I see White and Ben Davies and I see 8.9 million. And I'm like, this is a very template wildcard. I need to have some fun. I really need to have some fun. And Doherty was playing at the back of my head. And I was like, you know what, let's talk to Baker, who does the incredible above average FPL pod. And I just hit dial and I called Baker and I'm like, do I go for boring Ben Davies or do I, just have fun with Doc? And he's like, first of all, for the next 3 or 4 minutes, he was just laughing. And then later he's like, Doherty's fun. I'm like, you're not giving me an answer. Give me an answer. Don't sit on the fence. He's like, go with boring Ben Davies. I was like, no. I really want to get Doherty. Then I DM Planet FPL James. And I was like, what do you think? Should I get him? And the episode that he did on Monday night, the episode's name was, if you're asking me, Matt Doherty is an FPL pick, you're going to get blocked. So he literally quoted that. He's like, go listen to the first minute of the pod that I dropped on Monday. I was like, man, everybody's telling me not to do it. I have a very template wildcard. I need to have some fun. Zoph, you know me, I need to have some fun. So then I got into process here and process like, you know what, I'm getting Ben White. I'm doing the safe thing here. Let me just get Doherty. And he's like, yeah, just have a little bit of fun. And that's how I settled. I just thought it was a fun story to narrate. We can move on. Enough self-indulgence.
It was good. It was great pick. You're well set up now. Let's just touch upon, I think we've touched upon Arsenal, Liverpool. There's one thing I want to mention on Arsenal. I'm not as keen on Martinelli because I think there is, like you said, a big bias on the right side. I kind of like Odegaard more in terms of security of starts. One thing that worries me with 29 and 30, Arsenal have 3 games in 6 days. The worst possible schedule in terms of proximity, and they've not had that. They've always had a free midweek or something like that, right? You have ESR knocking about, you have Pepe knocking about. So I'm not as keen on Martinelli. I'd sort of prefer Odegaard.
He's racked up good numbers. He's got 6 shots and 12 chances created in the last
He's getting in the
matches,
box a lot more than he was earlier in the season. So I think I like Odegaard over Martinelli.
That's a good shot. I might consider it. That's a good shot. Nothing against it.
Right. Let's touch upon Brighton. Anything to talk about Brighton? Just move on.
Yeah. Tough fixtures.
Let's just
Don't buy.
Don't buy. Everton, Newcastle. Everton and Newcastle. Let's touch upon Everton a little bit because even though they don't have a blank, they have a lot of doubles and etc. coming. But I think they're a train wreck.
Yeah.
They could have a triple game week, and I would still probably not look to buy an Everton player right now.
Yeah, Zoph, I think the only player worth considering from Everton is Anthony Gordon, 4.5 million.
Yeah.
I watched the game against Spurs, and he was actually someone who was putting in a good performance. And Lampard did say in the post-match press conference that he was one of their better players. So at that price, as a placeholder, I mean, 3 or 4 game weeks ago we were talking Jacob Ramsey. I think now that person is Anthony Gordon. If you're wildcarding right now.
Agree. As a budget pick, I like him a lot as an 8th attacker.
Yeah. Other than that, I don't really think.
The only problem though is all the good players are in midfield. The trade-off there is he's taking up a good midfielder instead of some. I know you're saving the money, but all the good picks seem to be in midfield.
The macro point of view, though, Zoph, is going, let's say, later into the season because of the emergence of Chelsea assets, because of the emergence of Doherty, and because you'll want
City assets later.
City assets later. You'll probably not mind dovetailing into sort of a 4-4-2 formation or a 4-5-1 formation a little later in the season because of the lack of strikers. So you don't mind that Gordon asset as a 4.5 who's going to have a few double game weeks later in the season. Just talking a little macro. And one other factor is that they have had contrasting fortunes playing home and away, and Goodison Park is just a different ball game. So I do like the fact that they have 2 home games in this double game week. So I don't mind Gordon as a pick because particularly I think home makes a difference when it comes to Everton.
I think it does too. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Away they're absolutely abject. So any other picks? Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, etc., etc.
It's rolling the dice. The pick I'm comfortable with is Anthony Gordon. That's about it. I wouldn't want to spend more than that money on an Everton asset right now. It's rolling the dice. Yeah. That's all.
Right. Should we talk about Newcastle, Bakar?
No.
The point still stands. Your point still stands, as you said earlier.
Yeah. I think they're a no-buy right now because the fixtures in 29 and after aren't really good. So I think the right time to jump on that train was in 28.
Yep.
I don't think that the time is now to buy Newcastle asset. That's it. Ryan Fraser's 7th for XGI. I read in the last 6 matches or something like that. So his numbers are really, really good.
He always does this because the crosses he put in, even at Bournemouth, he creates a lot of big chances. So in terms of XGI, he's always up there. Just like, the guys he provides aren't very good at finishing. That's what he expressed last time. And in this time, I think he scored off a rebound from Murphy. But he's a good pick. I like him as a general budget pick.
Yep.
Don't mind that. What else shall we talk about, boys, in terms of this game week? Any captains besides Salah? Anything?
I don't have anything against the Kane captaincy. I do
Just
mention
the form.
that. So
The form is unreal right now. Kane is just, I think, as good as he's looked in the last 3-4 years. Absolutely top level.
Yep, agreed. And United don't look good at the moment. I don't know what happened. I mean, the first half was good. I was actually very impressed watching that United game. I just want to talk about it being a United fan. I thought we did well. I liked Ralph's aggressiveness. He had balls to play like that, because he played a fairly high line. He used Pogba and Bruno to press up front. It was sort of like a 4-2-4, and there wasn't enough protection. I'm like, you know what? The guys who are playing in defense for us are named Maguire and Lindelof. Do you want to play a high risk game? City are going to destroy us the moment they get in. We'll get more chances, but we're going to get destroyed. And second half, just everybody down their tools. So don't know what's going to happen.
It sort of reminds me of when Liverpool came to town, right? It's sort of a game where if Spurs scored early, the crowd will boo, the fans will start leaving, heads will drop, because it sort of got into that level because of media pressure, right? It's just you've seen all these guys, like what Keane has been on about, of the players giving up, etc., etc. It's like the press have 10 articles ready just to push out as soon as Man United lose a game.
What disgusts me most is those team leaks. Those leaks coming about how this player doesn't get along with this player and how these players, there's a clique here and there. And every time there's a bad performance, there's so many leaks. It's just a train wreck at the moment. Every time. Not
so
nice
I think
to see.
Spurs probably outside Liverpool. I don't like any Arsenal pick particularly for captaincy.
No.
That's about it.
What do you... I wouldn't even entertain Trent over Mo, because I think the opposition that Liverpool face, at least Arsenal, are capable of scoring a goal against them. So I much prefer Mo. If you're going Liverpool, I don't mind the Kane captaincy.
Right. Anything
Bakar,
else?
any thoughts?
Nothing more to add.
I'm just scanning through the other teams' fixtures if there's anything interesting to talk about here per se.
Would you sell Coutinho for a doubler? Kulusevski or Saka? That's an interesting.
That's a good question. I think yes. Bakar, I think you're also of the same opinion.
Yes.
Why don't you share?
Absolutely, because Coutinho's fixtures from now on in aren't the best. If you look at the fixtures, West Ham away this week, Arsenal at home next week, and then Wolves away in 31. I don't expect big scores from Coutinho, despite the fact that he's done really well. I mean, Southampton or Leeds are two fixtures which suit him down to the ground. You get that extra fixture from someone like Kulusevski this week, and he also has a favorable fixture in 30 and 31. He plays Newcastle at home. I mean, Newcastle have improved, but I'd still expect Spurs to score at least a couple past them. Spurs at home, as I said, have been very good at home this season. They're only behind Liverpool and City when it comes to XG per home game under Conte. So I expect them to do well in 31 as well. I don't think that's a bad move if you're looking to fund any other transfers, for example, Kane or Robertson or anyone else. I think those are good moves.
Great.
Is everybody 100% on Mo C?
Absolutely.
Yeah, more TC here.
Mo TC. Nice. Cool. All right,
Let's
we can move
teams.
forward.
Let's do our teams. And we can do the Q&A. This is our first up. Bakar, your team.
Yeah, so I have Ramsdale in goal, Trent, Rudiger, James, Tierney, Rafinha, Salah will be my triple captain, Coutinho, Saka, Kane, and Broha. Now a lot of this depends on James's fitness. I personally think that James, it doesn't look like it will be a long-term issue, so he should be fine for 31. In that case, my first move is likely to be Coutinho to Kulusevski, like I was suggesting earlier. That would allow me to get Doherty for Kilman, and by doing that, I can bench James this week. Now the move I'm unsure about for a -8, which would be an additional -4 to the two moves I'm already making, is whether I sell Rudiger to Robertson for a -4. And at the moment, I'm leaning towards making that transfer for the reasons I mentioned earlier in the pod.
To set up the Cancelo template, the structure.
To set up the Cancelo template. And I do think that Robertson has a bigger ceiling than Rudiger as well. And even this week, I sort of have the feeling that Newcastle will score.
The fixtures are good, though, on the other side of 30 for Chelsea.
Yeah, but then again, Robertson has Watford in 31. I know Rudiger has as Brentford. But I do have James in place already, so it's just that decision which I have to make.
I think you're feeling it, so you should do it.
Yep. You're on a roll. Just back your gut.
Yep.
And how happy are you that we didn't speak on Saturday? I definitely would have talked to you out of James captain. Just coincidental. I fell asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I'm looking to do.
Cool. Move on to my team. I've already made one early transfer. I had exact cash for Dennis to Kane. That was part of the planning when I did my moves last year. So I've gone ahead and pulled the trigger on that. I've got Ramsdale in goal, Cancelo, Trent, James in defense, Trossard still lurking about, probably his last hurrah. Bowen. This is something interesting now. Bowen is something I wanted to talk about. If he's fit this week, do you keep him? Because I like his 31 and 32, or do you move him on for somebody like Kulusevski? What do you think for a hit?
I'd move to Kulusevski.
I'm leaning towards that as well because I don't like Bowen's 30 fixture as such, even though he has a fixture Spurs away. Kulusevski with the 2 fixtures plus, and you have Newcastle in 31 as well. I think that's worth a hit this week, Bowen to Kulusevski.
Yeah,
That also leaves... Go ahead.
And you're happy to hold him for a long time. He's just a good pick at that price point.
Yep. What do you think, Bakar? Bowen to Kulusevski for a hit? LR, I think you'll have to connect us.
Bakar, do you think Zoph should do Bowen to Kulusevski for a hit?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm leaning in that direction as well. So it's Bowen, Salah cap, Rafinha.
Don't have cash for Tross to Kulu?
No, 0.0. Exact cash for Kane to Dennis. So Saka, Broya, Kane on the bench, De Gea, Jimenez, Livramento, and Dean. But you don't think Jimenez is worth giving a run out if Bowen is out?
No, go for Kulu.
Then I can also do Livramento.
Zoph, how confident are you on Trossard playing 2 fixtures this week?
Not at all. Absolutely zero. But ultimately, it's just that, just a doubler, just roll the dice. I wouldn't buy him. It's just in my team, so I just stuck him in. But I'd still rather play him over a Jimenez.
I do think he has a goal in him this week.
Yeah, so worth giving him a shot. He's a differential. Just you never know what might happen. Moving on to LR, your team.
Yeah, so I'm looking to play the BB. I want you guys' opinion here. In defense, I have Ramsdale and Dubravka. I'm just going to mention it as a potential BB squad. I've got Trent, James, Doherty, and White in my defense. I'm thinking of maybe moving on White. In midfield, I've got Mo, Kulu, Saka, and Rafinha. And up front, I have Kane and Broya. So the bench is currently Coutinho, Rudiger, and
Adams.
So the potential moves that I'm looking at, and I've got exact cash for both the moves, is either just taking a chance on Luis Diaz because I think he's a sensational player and going Coutinho to Diaz as one option for a free hit, for a free transfer, or the alternate option, and I've got exact cash for that is White to Robbo and Coutinho to Martinelli. So I'm looking at maybe one of the two moves. Which one do you like better?
Neither really jump out to me because you might have a James size problem to fix also. Because if he has a muscular problem, assuming James is fit, I would say let's have a look at the weak links in your squad. I still think Coutinho can deliver. I don't like White's potential. So I think I would go that route because Coutinho, all it takes is one banger. And West Ham can get a little bit open on their patch. So I don't think he's a priority sell, especially in this role he's playing now.
I can't get to a good defender until I downgrade Coutinho. That's the problem, Zoph.
I'm thinking
that's the thing. And I don't mind it.
If James is out, he's your cash cow. You sell him to somebody else. But as a cash cow, I don't mind it. But I don't like Martinelli per se. Who else? How much budget would you have?
I don't mind Martinelli for this week because I told you I like the matchups for this week particularly. I could go Odegaard because I quite like that as somebody I want to play reliably this week as well as next game week. It's much better if we're expecting 270, greater than 250 minutes. You're not really expecting that from Martinelli. But I've wanted to own Martinelli all season as well. He's capable of that explosion in that one game just because of the caliber of the player he is. That's about it. I actually currently, as things stand, I'm leaning towards just going Coutinho to Diaz because I think how things played out yesterday and Liverpool are the best attack in the league. I want an additional piece in that attack. So at the moment, I might just do Coutinho to Diaz and have some fun.
I don't mind that at all.
In your position, I would look at the transfer you were suggesting a couple of days to me earlier, the Robertson one.
Robertson. White to Robertson and then Coutinho to Martinelli. That's
what I would do. That's what I would do.
That's not a bad move at all.
Let's
That
see
way
how
you're getting Robertson. I personally think that's a better move for 31 as well. And 31, you can easily keep Robertson for Watford at home. You've got to take that into account as well.
Yeah.
It's not just
And
this week, right?
I agree. I agree. And the thing is, even if you're looking at 31 into account, Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea, and Liverpool, all four have good fixtures. Maybe not Arsenal. The other three teams have great fixtures. I think Chelsea's got
Yeah,
Brentford at
Arsenal,
home.
especially from a defensive point of view, I think that game is tricky. I expect them to concede there as well.
Yeah. And so yeah, I'll think about it. I mean, there's a lot of football to be played, and with James news, I think transfers might differ. So let's move into the question and
Move into
answer
the Q&A,
section.
guys. Let's remember
Yeah.
to hit the likes. It helped us a lot
Yeah,
last
guys.
time.
Yeah, we got a ton of likes, which helps our YouTube algorithm. So even if you don't want to hit the subscribe button, which you really, really should, just hit that like button and help us. That's the least we can do. That's the last we can ask. Would you definitely do the bench boost though? In my situation, get rid of the chip.
Yes, absolutely. I don't think you're going to get a better opportunity to do so at any point later in the season. And as you said earlier as well, when you look at it from a macro point of view, you actually want to take money out of that bench and focus that into the 11. So
Yeah.
I would do it. I don't think there's any point waiting till 36. There are 1,000 other factors that you've got to take into account for the later double game weeks. At that point in time, there are teams fighting for relegation. There are teams who are practically on the beach. There's a lot of rotation. So I won't wait. I think this is the best opportunity you have. Just go for it.
There is one thought, that has developed in my head after listening to James's pod from Planet FPL, and that is because of the variety of teams having doubles in 33, 36, and 37. I might actually need to use that bench and maybe not go bottom budget in that bench so that I get enough doublers from every team when I'm trying
That's
to
a good
target
point.
those double game weeks. So I don't think it's going to be a clear-cut case of removing money from the bench. I think I might still go with two keepers until the end of the season. I think I might still go with two outfielders that are playing that are about 5 million and not bottom price on the bench. So that's something that's just a thought in my head. That's about
Cool. A couple of super chats is coming, guys. Let's get started on the questions. From
Yeah.
Aldas89, drop James or Rudiger for Robbo? What do you guys think?
If James is fit,
Rudiger.
drop Rudiger.
Yeah,
James is-
even if James
preference-wise.
isn't fit, Pranil, he's expected to be fine for 31. So just bench James this week.
I agree.
If
That's
you're
what
not
James
bench
is.
boosting.
If you want to get rid of Rudiger, I don't mind getting rid of Rudiger at all. Robbo. Drop Dean or
Drop
Cody
Dean.
for Doherty. I think we drop Cody.
Yep.
Yep. Let's move on. Next question. I'm thinking -8 for Jim's son, Dean or Size to Kane, Kulu, Doherty. I like that.
I like it.
Go for that.
Yep. Good moves.
Go for it.
Mihir is asking Bowen and Rudy to Robbo plus Kulu. Or Son plus King to Kane plus Kulu. So many abbreviations.
I think Son plus King to Kane and Kulu.
Yeah, I think you prioritize Kane.
Kane has to
Given
be the
the-
priority.
Yeah. Strikers for under 6.5.
Broya still Broya.
Broya.
Don't go near the Watford lads.
To be fair, Dennis could have had a brace against Arsenal.
I
It was
know.
I was surprised by how much a Void team was attacking so much. Really
Yes.
surprised.
Without Sar.
Yeah.
Needs
They
must.
did,
though,
I thought Cucho Hernandez had a really good game. Really good game.
Good play.
I don't think he's going to move to the bench. I think one of Sar or King come in. I think Cucho will keep his position.
Yes.
Uh,
This guy Pedro didn't do well. I think Joao Pedro will
Yeah.
probably drop out.
Pedro is just like a young Richarlison. Downgrade Son to Kulu if it allows to get Kane in. Yes, we discussed that and we like it and we don't really think it's a downgrade. So current, go for it. We all approve of it. Joshua, thanks for the super chat. Hi guys, great content as always. Son, Rafinha, Ramsey, Jimenez to Kulu, Havertz, Barnes, and Kane. I don't know if I want to sell Rafinha before Norwich at home.
I don't mind the other fixtures. Havertz also but Havertz, look, if he gets benched against Norwich, I don't mind bringing him in. If he starts against Norwich, I would be slightly wary. But I'm pretty sure he's going to start against Newcastle. He's our first choice striker at the moment, so I don't mind that. Barnes is a good pick as well for 30.
Somebody in the chat was asking Kulusevski or Odegaard. Our opinion, and all three of us share it, is if you're looking at the 6 million price bracket, Saka first choice, Kulu second choice, and then everybody else in the price bracket. Saint Max punt. I'm not feeling it. I don't like the fixtures.
Don't like it. And it's just wait for a player coming back from injury at least to play a game or two. That's just how I don't prefer.
Zoph, why don't I ask you this question? Cancelo to Doherty for a hit.
If Cancelo's ruled out, in fact, for the weekend, it might be something I look at because the fixtures, right? It would be blank if he's injured, right? If it's not available, it's blank, Burnley, Liverpool.
Yeah, it is, and also in the next three, it's 1 game versus 3 games. I'm not against it.
I don't mind it. But if he's fit this weekend, I'd still be tempted to keep because he has that potential for a 12-pointer. But if he's out this weekend, he'll likely leave my team.
I'll tell you what, though, because that's a substantial
Palace
amount of money.
decent off. I think Palace will score this week.
Possible. Palace will score any week, but again, so could Cancelo.
Yep.
It's not a priority sell, I think, if he's if he's playing this week.
I think what would encourage me to make this move is that 3 million that you're getting, downgrading Cancelo to a Doherty. Where are you using that money? If it funds a substantial upgrade, I'd be for it.
That's all it is. Karan, yeah, go ahead.
I didn't get those Doherty points last week. It's not at all too late. It's very early in the day. Get him.
This ownership is still ridiculously low. It's not like everyone's bought him already.
So it's 1.4% if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. And remember what Baker used to tell us, right? The problem with Reguilon, he gets chances, but he sucks at finishing them. That's not as much the case with Doherty. Doherty is much more lethal in the final third.
His passing was really good as well against.
Yeah. Some of the
Everton.
passes, that's why we have him on the thumbnail with the Maradona thing, right?
That assist to Kane was so good. So good. That pass, so good.
Joshua
is a
-8 for James to Robbo, Sessegnon to Doherty, and Havertz to Kulu. So it's Robbo, Doherty, and Kulu in. Havertz, I think, again, is not a bad option if he's going to play against Newcastle. I don't necessarily... I guess that's a facilitating move for the others.
Yeah, I think, Joshua, your answer depends on the lineup on Thursday. Because what Zoph's opinion has been, and he's been in my ear since Monday, is basically Tuchel is going to be aware that Newcastle is just a much more difficult fixture compared to Norwich. So he's expecting some of the big guns or the current first choice team to be benched in that Norwich game and be rested for the Newcastle game, which is currently much more important.
Much more difficult as well. Like Norwich, you could play almost the B or the C team. And I'm very confident that's a game you sort of let Lukaku start and fill his boots, get his confidence up.
Exactly. I'm with you on that. Tuchel did mention that Timo was very close to starting as well against Burnley.
Tempted?
No. No. Change manager. Change man.
Yeah, change
Last
man.
Season. Cool, guys. I think we'll wrap up now. I think we've done 75. I think
I
we
want
will
to go assemble my steering wheel.
All right. So while Zoph goes and plays Gran Turismo 7, is it?
Yes.
Zoph?
Yes.
You guys make sure you're hitting the like and subscribe button because that's the only way you can show us support. And we'll see you next week. Good luck this week and take care. Any last words, boys?
I think Bakar's quick dance move.
Come on, Bakar, do it. A little balle, Bakar. Come on.
Come on.
Yeah,
Hey. See you guys next week.
See you. Take care.